Oi! Oi! Welcome back to the Wolf Waters YouTube channel. In today's video, you can bloody guess what we're doing. More frickin' remedial. Holy heck! We're going to be focusing on this wall and the wall down there. We've got a bit of a deadline. We've got to get all this frickin' done before Friday, when we've got our frickin' timber consultant, council, and everyone comes back to check our fucking work. So we got to start ripping into it and get things done. Hey, alright, who would have guessed another remedial video? That's how much frickin' framing needs to be replaced from this bloody thing. But it's alright. At least I've got the skills and the knowledge to, and the know-how to bloody do it. Now I must admit, I was a little bit disappointed when I seen how much framing had to be replaced. I was, yeah, underwhelmed to say the least. So to be on sort of the last side of the house, that being the worst side, I'm pretty happy. So I'm going to try to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to see how much framing needs to be replaced, and if it's more than half, probably going to end up just replacing the whole frickin' wall. It's going to be a bit of fun because this is where the bathroom is, the toilet. So I'm assuming that there's going to be some pipes that we've got to work around. So, honestly, in this situation, I'm not going to save any of the jib board inside these two rooms, the toilet and the bathroom, just because the fact that the whole wall's coming down. The rest of the house, I've been trying to keep it as nice as possible, so it's still somewhat livable. But here, we're just going to frickin' rip it out. It's going to be far easier, faster, and easier for me to do it that way. So I think first of all, I'm just going to start trying to rip the studs out. Put a drop sheet inside the bath over here, just to check that so we don't damage it too much. I've said this in the past, but a good way to know whether your temporary props are doing the job that it needs to, and you don't want to be cutting through a place where there's a little bit of a load point. So I've got the truss here, you've got your stud that loads down to the bottom plate, which goes to the slab. If you cut through there and the blade cuts through it really easily, and it doesn't bind, then you're good to go. If it does bind, you may want to look at adding extra props in. Alright, so I think the camera just turned itself off while it was hot, but bloody heck, I just pulled this wall off and the freaking whole backside of the toilet system came out and just went everywhere. So I've turned it off. There's a little valve here, you can turn that off, and that's going to stop any water from getting back into the toilet. It's a shame that we can't use that one now, because you know, when your partner's over and you want to take a big dump, you can use this one, but looks like it's going to be the ensuite from now on. Oh, poor woman. See, I pretty much removed everything. So inside top and bottom plate, I need to start removing these studs here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut quite close to this line through here, and with the saber saw, and then I'm going to pull them out and then just see what I can do from there. New blade, and that way I can actually cut on a nice straight line. The old blades sometimes tend to twist and curve and stuff like that as you're doing a line like this. So what I'm going to pretty much try and do is cut as close to the pipe as possible, but not actually cut it. So. Alrighty, Tim Tidy, so what we're going to do now that all the remedial's ripped out is we've got to start by installing our new top and bottom plates. I've got an H3.2 bottom plate, H1.2 top plate. I've actually cut them to length and nailed them together. The length that I wrote down this morning on my little diagram here. Now I just need to take into consideration a few little things. One being the new lintel fixing schedule. Now originally when the consented plans went through, there was no lintel fixing schedule because we're just ripping the cladding off and putting it back on. But obviously there's far more rotted timber than we expected, so anything that we touch has to be brought up to today's standard. So there's different lintel fixings dictate how many studs are next to the lintels, etc, etc. In this situation we've got a type G and a type F. An F and a G. Obviously the F's for the smaller window and the G's for the bigger one. But some of the other windows through here are type H's, which are a little bit bigger than what have been originally used. So that's fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the diagram to pretty much mark out my studs, my trimmer studs, and my jacks, I guess you could say. And that way when I go to install these in there, I'm just going to build it in situ. It's going to be too hard for me to build the wall and lift it in like that, unfortunately, especially with the pipe in the way. So it sort of follows as this. So we've got our stud, then we've got our trimmer stud, so that pretty much runs up underneath the lintel, and then we've got a jack stud that sits on top of the lintel, and then we've got an understud that supports the sill. Don't worry about that little line there. Now I've done that all the way along through here. Now the next little thing is I've got to take into consideration is our 600. Now that I've got our openings, I've got to take into consideration 600 centers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come off here, and I'm going to use this running measurement. So I got 1930 to my bottom plate. 1930. If I just go 1930 to make things easy, right there. And then I want to go 2.4. I was hooked over, so that's going to be X away. And I can use this as my running measurement for my 600 centers. Now that could be a stud, that could be an understud, that could be a jack stud. But we want to keep that 600 centers so when we install our sheets, we have something, the edge of the sheet has something to land on. Now what I've just realized is I've actually marked the inside of the frame with all this. That doesn't matter too much though, because I can still going to be able to mark this out on the top and the bottom. Now I'm just writing on my 600 centers one. I'm not doing a 45 mil mark. I'm just writing on the side of the line that understud or the stud or the jack stud to go. Alright, so another thing to take into consideration is make sure you choose your straightest length in the pack. Choosing the top and bottom plates. It's going to be make your life a lot easier when we're installing these. Okay, so I got that marked out. This is what I mean by I got a line. If I put an understud here, that means that's where the understud goes, not on that side. So instead of chiseling them out one at a time, I've just done my trimmers and my studs, and I've just cut them all at the same time. Right, so I just come to install the lintels. Now a few hot tips I guess you could say is when doing our lintels we want to make sure that we check for the crown first, like that, like this. We always want that bowing up, and then we want to make sure that the bottoms are flush when we're nailing it off, and we can easily plane the top off because the bottom is going to be sitting on top of our trimmer stud that's in there. Now you'll also see I've prepped this first, so I'll put these CPC 80s on right next to, well, it says understud, but right next to the jack studs where they need to go, because as soon as I put the lintel in it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to get them in. So I'm just going ahead, thinking ahead through there, and I'm going to whack these lintels in now. Now you'll notice that I've sort of actually up-spec'd both of these lintels as well. This used to be a 4x2, and I up-spec'd it to a 6x2. Probably doesn't need to be, but I just had that lying around, so I thought I'd better use it up. So before I can complete the rest of the framing members, I've got a stud through here. I've got to put a block and a stud through there. I need to fix this bottom plate off correctly, so I've got a new brace that goes in here, and I just like to use a drill bit to go through the timber first. Then I'm just bolting the bottom plate down, and once I've bolted this down, now I've got to connect these bottom, see there's a joint in the bottom plate, so I'm putting another bolt here. Oh, you freaking mother! This toilet, you can't use this toilet to do your poos anymore. It's all broken.
Dad, I wanted to do one right now.
Oh. Unfortunately, all my batteries have died, so I can't complete fixing down the bottom plate, but while it charges, it's gonna stain. Frame saver! Woo! So much fun. Alright team, I've pretty much finished this wall. I've got to do one more coat of frame saver on there, which I'm going to hit right now, but I'll catch you in the morning to attack the worst part of the house. This is the most rottenest bit over there. Rottenest. Far out. But it's a good look at what we've done. Beautiful. And then there's that. Like it working in a mess. Anyway, see you in the morning. Woo! Welcome back. It's a new morning. It's a new day. Another day, another dollar. Holy heck. So I pulled the plywood off and see how bad this frickin' shit is. Holy heck. Poor. Far out. That is completely fucked. Now the reason this is so fucked is because the incorrect flashing systems have been put in. Now this is the junction here that was leaking. There's no kick out flashing on our apron. And what that means is the water sort of drips in, and you can see where it sort of slowly came down along the lintel and down, just completely ruined this whole thing. Another situation as well, like you'll be noticing, you see that around all the windows, all our studs and stuff are fucked because the incorrect flashing systems haven't been put in place. That's why everything's so rigorous these days, and it's so good to have that cavity system, because if water does get behind it, it's able to dry out and it's actually able to drain out down in between the cavity. But yeah, so plan of attack today is I'm going to do this in 2 sections. I'm not going to hit the whole wall. I'm going to do this section first because this is the least amount of work. Well, not least amount of work, but the lintle's still in place. So I'm going to cut the bottom plate here and replace it all the way through. I've got a few pipes and stuff that we've got to work around. And another thing we've got to take into consideration is the actual lintel fixings themselves. Now this is a type H. So what that means is we actually need 2 studs next to the lintel and then our trimmer studs. So you can see we don't have that in place. And the reason I know that is because when I got the remedial work looked at, the council picked up on that we need to have all our lintel fixings updated wherever we're touching. So whatever we're replacing. So if I just quickly squiz to this here. So this was part of the consented documents, and it's the lintel fixing schedule, and you've got your different types, type E, type F, type G. Now type H is the one that we're doing, and it gives you all the different types of fixings that you can use and how to install them. So we're on a type H. We've got a double stud next to it through there. And we've got a lintel strap that goes on both sides. It says there 200 sheet strap brace, both sides. 6 nails in the lintel, 6 nails in the trimmer stud, and then down the bottom we have different options here. So we can have that handy brack with 2 T4s both sides, or we can do what can we do here? Yeah, you get the gist. We got 2 CPC 80s on each side and then a bolt next to it. We got a strap brace that runs underneath. But yeah, we could use that strap brace system because we've already got the strap brace there. The only issue is we're pulling the stud out, so that's not really going to work. So try and sorry, I'm frickin' mumbling. Let's rip into it. I'll catch you when I frickin' frame this wall up because you've seen so much, and I'll show you it in real life. Over the process of doing this remediation of framing members, I've actually found it easier to install all these fixings first, instead of like trying to reach up and install them up and down and in. I thought I was just sort of figured that out yesterday when I was doing it over there. I was like, fuck, it's actually so much easier just doing it like now, and then it's sort of done. Also probably wondering why the heck are you using stainless and bright and all that sort of frickin' stuff, CPCs. Well, this is just stuff that's left over from previous jobs, so I'm just using them all up. That begs the question that the 2 metals that I'm using corrosive with one another, and honestly I don't think so, because there's no moisture getting to these. If it was exposed, whether it was the rain or the water, moisture was, I would say yes, but honestly, it's inside the wall. Alright, so I'm sort of up in the ceiling space at the moment, and seeing as I've got this top plate exposed, I'm actually able to get a proper top plate connector on there, which is kind of cool. I'm going to put that in before I put the packer plate in. I've just sort of slipped it through underneath the trusses and in between the ceiling jib. Now through here I'm just going to have to, wow, that doesn't look very good, I'll have to tidy that up, but I'm going to have to just put one underneath here like this, and that way we're just connecting everything together. See, there's a lot to freaking think about. You got to think about every little step before you go through and just frame everything out. It's a freaking mish. Bloody fly! The heck? the lintels. You want to make sure that the bottoms are nice and flush with your crown going up, and then if needs be, you can see there's a slight difference. The gauging of the timber's different, so we just plane the top of this one off so it's flush with the lower side, and then it's perfect. Woo! Haha! Not a bad weekend's work, eh? Frickin' smashed it! Holy heck! Tell you what, that took about 20 hours, 10 hours on that section yesterday and about 10 hours on this. It's a frickin' lot of work that goes into it. It's not just rip the timber out and put it back in again. You got to think about all your lintel fixings, your braces, and then all your hold down bolts and all that sort of carry on. So you can sort of see what's going on here. We'll start from the top. So we got the truss there, has a cyclone tie connected to the truss, that's connected to the top plate, that's connected to the stud as well. And then we've got our CPCs that connect the top plate to the stud. And then we've laminated these three, so our two studs and our trimmer stud all together at 250 centers. Then we've got a strap on here and a strap on this side to connect the lintel to the framing member here. And then down the bottom we've got our jib handy brack that bolts, that's connected to our stud, that bolts all the way through to our stud. So everything's sort of connected all the way up. But yeah, trimmer stud, lintel, jack stud, top plate. Did I say sill already? Sill, understud and bottom plate. So you can sort of see the framing members around each window now. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for hanging around. I promise you, next video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be even harder than this. Make sure you stay tuned because it cost me another $2.5 fucking grand. That's right. Nothing I can do about it now, eh? Peace! Subscribe, like,